Hello, everyone. This is our third episode.
Yay. Welcome back to Guided by Source.
I can't wait to. I was really daydreaming about the merch, by the way, last night. So I'm just going to put that in the vortex. Guided by Source.
Yes. And I love how just a little bit of like just the tiniest conversations that we have like always just like blast open to all this inspiration.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, you had just said like I love how that looks. I would love that on a t-shirt, and I was like, oh my god, I can already see our logo. And so like I was able to like whip up like a quick like rough draft just to be like, what do you think? Like, and it took me literally like 30 seconds to get that done.
Dude, I was shocked. I was just like, no way. When he sent me that, I was like, did you just put this together, bro? Like, it wasn't even like 3 minutes that even passed. Like, you
Yeah,
already had like the vision like come to life.
that could take an entire afternoon if I wasn't inspired.
Wow.
And it's just a testament of like how when you're inspired, things
Yeah.
are just so easy.
Dude, you know what I've been, there's certain things where it's like, especially reading spiritual concepts, it's like your brain logically gets it, but sometimes it just like hits you in the heart and you're like, oh shit, yeah, like I get it. I was listening to Bashar and he was saying that like every your brain can't produce ideas. Your brain can only calculate and remember things. That's it.
Mm,
Every idea you've ever had came from your higher self, comes from that non-physical part of you. And it's just like, wow. And even every like
ooh.
imagination, like, yes,
Like it
yes.
just like whenever you get an idea or an inspiration, it always just it feels so good.
Yeah.
You feel like it's almost like that. It's the exact same feeling of abundance. It's like, or like worthiness. It's like that feeling of like potential of doing something. It's like, like it's so good. I love
Yes.
it. I love that feeling.
Me
Oh, you know what
too.
you said earlier, just a minute ago? You said like your brain, it can't like make ideas, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like, for some reason, I was hearing like almost like the beliefs are in the mind, but the knowing's in the heart. I don't know why, but like I just kind of like heard that kind of like come
Oh my
through, and I was like,
gosh.
like you could believe all you want, and like it's all in the head, but if you don't feel it with your heart, like what even is
Oh my
it?
dude. Resonate with that so much.
And where do you feel it? Here.
In right in the heart.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, it's the best
I
guidance.
think it really is.
I think about this too. Like when I get emotional, like in really positive ways too. It's like if someone makes me tear up, or it's just like I really feel something deep in my heart. It's like, dude, out of the billions of things in this universe that could have affected me, it's like this one quote or whatever situation's happening that like caused that feeling.
Mm,
I was just like, what? Like it's so purposeful and so
yeah.
deliberate, and that's why it's like, how can you ignore that?
Yeah. I agree. I always feel like it's like it could be a message that like everybody sees, but like it's still meant for you because it's like the way you feel about that message.
Yeah.
Like someone could like write graffiti on a wall and everyone passes by the graffiti. It's like a poem or a quote or something, and everyone passes by, but one person could just look at it and it'll mean everything to them.
Yeah.
So it's like that's how it's like it's meant for you, because it like
Yes.
it has your vibration on it, like your name,
Yeah.
but like your more than just your name, like your essence.
Sorry, I had a thought in my head. It just completely slipped my mind. So it makes me think about how it's like when you pass through like memes, for example, online, like, and it's like it's specific. It's a specific reference to a TV show or a movie or like an inside joke, and it's just like if you don't understand the reference, you're not gonna appreciate the post. And that's what like, and just like taking that aspect into my life. It's just like how many things have I passed through in my life? How many messages or like things that people have told me and I just didn't resonate with it. But I'm
Mm.
sure if I go back, I'm like, it was right in front of me the whole time.
Okay. So That's actually, it's so funny you say that. And that's something I've been thinking about so much. It's like, you know, that saying, like, when you change the way you look at things, the way you look, what you look at changes,
Yeah.
right? And I really just started thinking, like, even if you read like the same book, every time you read that book, you're a different person. So what information you're getting out of that book will change. And it's like the same book, but like, is it the same book?
Do you know what? Do you have a book like that, by the way, that you periodically read across
Um,
your life?
I like The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. I've read that like quite a few times. Um,
Oh, dude, that must be crazy to revisit.
yeah, yeah, it really is, and it really is a different book every time. Um, The Law and the Power. Actually, funny story is when I was reading that book, right at the end of the book, Neville starts talking about how like he gave birth to himself through his head, and like he was like gyrating on the bed and stuff. I'm like, okay, like I was with you up until this point. But like that same day, I started like researching like lucid dreams,
Hmm.
and it led me to astral projection. And then when people started talking about like the like what happens when you astral project is like you feel like you're shaking, and then like your like inner body comes out of your physical body, oftentimes through the top of the head, and then I was like, oh Neville, that's what you're talking about this whole time, and I thought he was crazy. I was like, okay, like I love
Bro
you,
is just
but
shaking in the bed.
he gave birth to himself. I'm like, what?
What does he gave birth through himself?
Well, I
That
guess he ousted himself. I don't know.
that reminds me of a quote I saved a while ago. I'm gonna read it right now. I'm not sure if this is applicable, and like I screenshotted it. Oh God, this I just searched father in my Google Photos, and that's now my actual dad's coming up. That's not what I wanted. Birth. It's something like a woman who gives birth to herself is her own father, and I don't know
Okay.
why. Like it's just that quote intrigues me so much. If I find it, I'll mention it. I'll continue looking.
I feel like that could be like that could be taken in many ways, but like the way that I would like to receive that message is like when you say the father, like and not like in like a way that it's like that like masculine head of the house type
Mhm.
father,
Yeah,
but the Father, as in our Father in heaven, like God. When
yeah,
you give birth to yourself, you are your own creator. And so you're choosing to be who you want to be. I'm sure people could be like, oh yeah, well women are trying to be masculine now or whatever. It could be taken that way too. Sure. It could be taken many ways, right? Whatever
yeah,
you look at, it'll change the way you like the way you see things changes the way that things are, right?
yeah,
So like what how I would like to see it is we are our own creators.
yeah.
It's interesting, like as an artist, I noticed there would be like certain details that I put into lyrics, or there'd be like layered messages, and even sometimes it surprised me how like synchronistic and layered it would be, and how meaningful and deep it could get. Um, but I would be like, like somebody's gonna notice that, somebody's gonna notice that detail, and someone's gonna make the reference, and like and I just kind of just had that just trust that like I don't know who is gonna do it, or maybe everyone will just right away get it, but probably not because they're so subtle. And I was just kind of like I never knew who it was for, but I kind of just knew it was for someone.
Yes,
You ever
yeah.
experience
I love
that?
those feelings. I love having that feeling. Dude, that's my and it's I experienced that so many times too. Like just in like I it's an impulse that I know I should have, that I know I should do, and I don't know what the outcome is going to be. And I'm like, okay, like I just follow it blindly at this point. And it's so cool like having those impulses like when it's also for a specific person. Like if I'm listening to a song and I just get the impulse to send it to someone, like I always follow that. Because I'm
Mm,
again, out of the billions of things I could be thinking about, why am I getting that thought right now? And it's so
right.
again, very deliberate. And it usually ends up like the person is just resonates with it so much, or it was like the perfect time, or it just like made their day. And I'm like, wow, like I just want to give like my higher self a kiss because I was like, wow, that
Oh
was
my
so.
god.
I found the quote by the way, and I'm only interested in this because I've never gotten to actually talk about it with anyone.
Okay.
So, a woman filled with her own spirit is the father of her own child. And now I'm just, right. It's just like, what does this mean? But I'm kind of, now that when you brought up the Neville thing, giving birth to himself, I'm feeling there's a connection
Mm,
between that now.
yeah. Mm.
Food for thought.
Hey, maybe that would explain the Immaculate Conception of Jesus Christ.
Yo, I was doing a float tank, like those sensory deprivation tanks. And I got back out on the lobby afterwards. And I just had the impulse to talk to the guy who's sitting at the receptionist desk. And we ended up talking for 2 hours. It was so cool. Uh, but we brought that up. How like, because I think he was raised Catholic. You know, I told him like how I had a Muslim upbringing, and we just got to talking about like, dude, he's super into ancient Egypt history, by the way.
Oh,
So
cool.
that was just like crazy, like for me to mention that I was into too. But he was mentioning it's like, dude, even the story of Isis, and Horus and Osiris, that's a
Mm-hmm.
direct correlation to Jesus,
Mm.
Mary, and Joseph. And it's just like,
Wow.
it's so cool. Like, dude, things just like rinse and repeat the same basic concepts.
That's like the entire universe, though. It's a fractal universe. Everything is repeated and repeated and repeated. Like, it's like, it's so simple and so perfect that it's almost hard to believe. It's
I'm on a
just,
micro
ugh.
I'm on a microdose right now, by the way, so this is like hitting me extra deep right now. I'm having such a great time right now.
Oh my God, that's
Like
amazing.
I can just like feel my heart energy expanding.
Okay, so now that you're now you probably really resonate with this then, or like maybe even be able to like visualize it.
Mhm.
Um, in the last couple of years, about actually like maybe like 1.5 years, whenever I look at like especially trees, I can see their life. Like I could tell you, like even if they cut off all the branches, I could tell you that that tree is still alive. And I don't know, like I don't know. I can tell you how I know how is because I can sense it, and I can't say I can see it or feel it, but like there's some kind of knowing of that.
Yeah.
Um, and I have been like absolutely like in love with trees. Like, and I can't tell. Like, I feel like I look at them and like they just give me that like ooh feeling. And I was wondering what it was. I'm like, and are they talking to me? And I think actually I figured out that yes, they are. But I don't know. Have you ever experienced that?
Quite a few, a bunch of times, honestly. And two main moments that are coming to me, especially with trees, is I was, especially like as I started to awaken and stuff like that. I remember I was like fully sober too. I walked into the my local park, and I live in New York City, so being in nature is kind of hard to do right now, at least in my neighborhood. So I have like this high school park that I go to, and there's this. I remember walking. I was on my scooter, and I just had this feeling to stop in front of this tree. And I probably passed by this tree like billions of times in my lifetime. Um, and I just stood in front of it, and I just got like I almost it was kind of like it was talking to me in a sense, like it just wanted me to touch it and talk to it,
Mm.
and I could feel it like saying hello and saying that like I watched you grow up. Whoa, I'm crying
Oh
right
my
now
God.
about that. And I was just like, and then like even that thought, dude, like trees watching people or like because they've been alive for so many years and they've
Yeah.
gotten to witness so many things. And I love that tree so much. Every time I pass by it, like I just like blow a kiss to it, or I just like look at it. Um, and dude, the other really profound memory I have is going to the Redwood Forest in California and seeing the trees that are like thousands of years old, and like bro, like it broke my sense of physics to see trees that big. Dude, I think you would absolutely like cry seeing those trees too.
I think so.
And
I think
And
so.
my friends and I were walking in there, dude. Like it was dead quiet. We felt like we were in church. Like I couldn't raise my voice. Like I felt like I needed to whisper. And that was the first time I realized, like, whoa, like I get why we pray to God. Like it was such a deep feeling. Like, and I could
Mm.
feel they were so talkative, dude. Like, I remember going to hug one, and one was like, back off, basically. And like,
Oh.
yeah, they were very like, very serious. And like, as it got darker, all I kept hearing was leave. You have to leave now. Like, and I think it was like for our safety because like once the sun was gone, dude, there was how on earth would we walk back? Like besides like the flashlight on our phones, like it would have been
Mm.
really difficult to navigate our way back
Right.
to the parking lot. I was just like, whoa, like dude. So they're so wise, and I've met very playful trees. Like they all have just like such deep personalities too.
Yeah, I've noticed like their personalities so much. And there
Yeah.
will be some that'll just be like, no. You
Yes,
know?
I get that. Yeah, dude. They're very like precise with their energy.
Oh my gosh. And others are like, you're back. And they, you hug them. And like, I remember this one experience actually. I was standing underneath the tree and I had come up and gave it a hug. And then I always feel like it gives me stuff. Like trees will give me things. Like this particular tree kind of like pointed out where there was a stick that I could throw for my dog. And it just kind of was like over there. And I looked and I was like, oh, perfect, thanks. So I had throwing the stick with the dog, and I was there, and like I could feel actually and see like the branches were started to like come down slowly, and like when I first went under, they were just above my head, and by the time I was done, they were like all wrapped around me, and I was like, this
How
is like
precious.
absolute confirmation that this interaction is real. Like it's
Wow.
not like me just like pretending to talk to trees. They're really communicating with me.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
beautiful. I was giving you a
Yeah.
hug back. Aww. Dude, sometimes like I'll be
Yeah.
walking as like even if like I'm in a kind of like in a rush to get someplace, which I'm just a side note, like I've learned whenever I feel like I need to rush anywhere, that's when I'm learning to go even freaking slower and not rush. Because that's just like
I
my
love
brain.
that.
But sometimes like I'll be walking and it's just like and in Brooklyn, there's like rows of trees on the sidewalks and stuff. And like, I sometimes I get like the messages from them. It's like, hug us, touch us, or like if I touch one, I could hear the others like, could we get touched too? And it's just like, and I'll literally walk all the way back down the block and make sure I give each of them attention.
Oh my gosh. I love
It's so
that.
fun.
And I feel like not only are we like benefiting from the interaction, I feel like it's allowing us to be present and like to like really just take our time. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, now I have to touch all of them. It's like,
No,
yeah, so what? Now I
yes,
get to. Like, now I can
yes,
meander and, like, I don't have to walk the straight path. Like, I
yeah,
can interact with all these trees and, like, and so what if I get back to my home a little bit later? It's all divine
yeah,
timing.
yeah, exactly.
So that means I'm gonna get there in the perfect time. I remember
Yeah,
that happened to me once, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna spend all the time that I feel is that needs to be spent with each of these trees. And then as I was walking home and crossing the street to my house, someone bumped into me on the corner. And it was someone like I always see when I walk my dog, we just wave across the street. We don't really know each other. But or we didn't at the time, but we met on the corner, and for some reason we stood there for almost an hour talking, and we were talking about our spiritual experiences and like all kinds of like cool stuff. And honestly, he told me, he's like, I've never told any about, he's like maybe like in his 60s, and he's like, I've never told anybody this because it happened in college and I just thought it was so bizarre. I'm going to keep it to myself.
ooh,
And he even said, I knew I should go for a walk today.
of course.
And it's just like it's so typical in a day now that like one of those things or more of those things, like it just happens all the time, that it's
Yeah.
like a typical day would be like you're quote unquote late but you're really on time for something else.
Yes.
And I'm always like, oh, okay, so I'm not gonna be there on time, so I guess what's gonna happen, like I'm ready to see what's happening.
Yeah. And that's made me, I think like in the past, like let's say like if my friend and I just like agreed to meet up at a certain place at a certain time, like and if I'm the one left waiting, like I think before, like I would probably get annoyed because like, dude, like I could have done like a million other things right now instead of just like sitting here
Hmm.
waiting. But now, like I learned to just appreciate. I was like, okay, like I'm meant to be here right now, so it doesn't matter.
What can I do? What can I do at
Yeah,
this time?
yeah, be here now. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Oh gosh. I just got a notification that my device storage is running low.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
hopefully,
I don't know how long.
okay. We'll just keep going. Again, divine timing. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I'm really glad that we talked about trees because like that's like a huge part of like my life, and I love that you like shared that, like, you know, like you have to go touch them all, or like you hear them call you and you're like,
Bro, another big moment. When I first moved into this apartment outside of my bathroom window, when I used to smoke, so it's like smoking outside my bathroom window, dude, like there was this beautiful tree in the my neighbor's backyard, and I was just like, bro, like we were homies. I would say good morning, good night, talk to it. And when I guess the owners sold the building and like these renovators came, bro, I cried so much. I couldn't even watch them cut. I don't. It's so high. I don't know if it's the
aw,
microdose. I could feel myself getting emotional. Like when that tree was gone, like I knew everything was grieving around it too, like
mhm,
including me, like the other trees as well in the neighborhood. I was just like, and
yeah,
the birds, like it was a home for so many of the birds there. Um, it's just such a bummer. Like that's what I hate too. Like seeing people cut down trees. That's like, well, for what, dude? Like, what was the point of that? But I also understand too. Like, I guess it's like kind of like animals dying for our food as well. Like,
yeah,
it's all part of the bigger picture. But it just like
yeah,
sucks like, when you have that like really close connection to a specific tree and it's gone.
yeah,
It's like, bro, it's like it literally feels like a death.
absolutely. And it is, you know, because they like we really make relationships with them, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess like even like maybe like 15 years ago, people would find it weird that people would have like such close relationships with their animals in their house,
Mhm.
you know? But like, and even I'm like, I obviously my animals are like my family members. Like to
Yeah.
me, that's like obvious. But I'm really starting to see that with my plants, my house plants, the
Me
plants
too.
outside.
Me
Like I
too.
really have like a very specific individual relationship with each one of them.
Dead ass. The only like I know I'm gonna move out of New York City, and I'm just gonna trust whenever that happens. The literally the only thing on my mind, I don't give a shit about anything else I have. My cat and my plants are the only two things I want to make sure that comes with me. And my plants too. It's like, I mean, they have their own free will as well. I hope that they can stay with me, but yeah, dude, it's like literally the only two most important things in my life, like my cat and my
Oh my
plant.
gosh, I hear
It's
you.
just they
Same.
grow so well. You know
My
what I
family members, basically.
Yeah, dude. They all have their own names, their own personality. One thing I noticed too, I think this is just like a testament to energy, was when I was living in my parents' apartment, I would try to keep plants in my own room. And like a lot of them would die. And it's like I remember putting plants like in the other rooms too, and it's like they just didn't thrive.
Hmm.
I come to my apartment, it's my energy being cultivated here. And same environment, same temperature, same water schedule. Dude, they're all freaking thriving.
Wow.
I think it's just a testament. It's like they can feel that love.
Yeah, and like your energy too, right? When you're comfortable and you're
Yeah.
happy where you are, then like you're
They
their
can,
carer. So like the energy that you're exuding is it's rubbing off on them too, right? They don't
yeah.
really necessarily have a choice like of like what I mean, I guess I could. I don't know. I've never really had a plant like choose to be like cruel or mean. I've
Yeah.
had like trees that are like maybe a little bit standoffish, I guess,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like, you know, don't really want to be like fondled with.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of a cruel tree or like a mean tree. Like I feel like they're all like very just loving and like
Yeah.
very certain in that love. Like there's no wavering in it. So I don't know.
When did
You kind of
your,
have that freedom to choose to be loving or not.
yeah. When would you say like was your first like deep tree experience?
um
Do you have a specific memory?
Well, my first one that like I guess like would be like a knowing. Well, I have so many. I don't even know what order they come in anymore. Oh, okay. One of my favorites was when I went to Italy. And it was the day we had gone to,
Florence?
no, not Florence. Where were we? Not Napoli, but the cannolis. Where do we get cannolis?
Sicily.
In Sicily. Okay. Oh my gosh. Why does it feel like it was so long ago? Gotta go back. Okay, so we're in Sicily, and that day I had gone out on my own excursion by myself. So I said, I'll just like I'm gonna just walk, and then I'm gonna like follow my guidance. Turn left, turn right, go straight, whatever. Like my excursion is all about following guidance and just seeing what happens. So I end up at this park, and I at the outside of the park there were some like beautiful large trees. So I walk into the park, and there's a fountain with turtles and fish, and I said, oh, okay, cool, and like this big stone, and I realized at the side of the, or like a boulder, right at the side of the boulder, there's stairs going up. So I'm like, what's up here? So I follow the stairs, and as I get to the top, in front of me, there's one of the biggest trees I've ever seen in my life. It was a ficus tree. It was over 100 years old. And I felt that I recognized this tree. I was like, oh my God. I ran down the steps, ran up to the tree, hugged the tree, and I was bawling my eyes out. And the
No.
park attendant came up to me, and he's like, excuse me, you can't be here. And he was trying to tell me to get off, and I just turned to him, and I'm like, and he's like, oh, I'll leave you alone.
Good idea, sir.
He ended up being really cool. He made me an espresso. We chatted in the park.
I fucking love Italy. Like,
Yeah.
he made me this first. Dude, they're the best.
Yeah, he had like a little hut that he like stayed in and attended the park, and he had an espresso machine.
So sweet. That's so cute.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Wow. So you recognize that tree.
Yeah, and
You know,
like I can't say from where or from when, but it was like almost like, oh my God, how big you've gotten, you know, or like how much you've grown, like that feeling. And it's like, I don't know if it was like a past life memory, or just that like sense of being so connected to source that like I knew that tree regardless, because source is
yeah.
that tree, you know, and maybe I recognize even myself in it. I can't say exactly what it was, but it was just, it had that recognition feeling to it, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Dude, I'm having like a different outlook. I don't know if I can put it into words yet. Just like that whole feeling of deja vu and like that knowing. Because like, dude,
mm,
I've been experiencing that more and more. Especially in meetings. Like I'm with people, I'm and I'll say it out loud every single time. It's like, whoa, I'm having deja vu right now. But like sometimes I'll be outside too, and I'm just like, why do I? Why does this moment feel so familiar? And now I'm kind of seeing it as Have you seen that movie Everything Everywhere All at Once?
yes, that's a good
And
one.
like now I'm kind of seeing deja vu moments like that, or like those knowings, that familiar feeling of
Mm.
new scenes in our movies right now, like everything just like colliding all at once, like the past, present, future is like all, I don't know, there's like a time split right now, and it's like that's why I was like,
Yeah. You know, that's interesting. I'm starting to actually understand the idea of time splitting, because everyone keeps saying like it's so complicated. If you really like try to like wrap your head around it, you'll never get it. But I'm like, I kind of get it. I've even experienced it in a dream. I remember like seeing multiple versions of myself doing different things. It was almost like playing The Sims, and I had like the same character, but they're in different rooms at the
okay,
same time. And they're all kind of doing the same thing, but just like slightly differently. And but instead of like in The Sims, for example, when you want to play each character, you have to click on them and it like goes to that character, that point of view, that point of view. I was able to understand all points of view at the same time. And like, of course, like in waking life, only because I have the memory of doing it, I can understand
yeah,
how it is.
yeah,
But in waking life, for someone to like understand that without experiencing it, it just seems like hard to wrap your head around. But like,
yeah,
it really isn't. It really isn't. It's just like,
So
I
it's
guess
you.
it's hard to explain.
Yeah. No, I'm getting it though. So it's like it's you, but you're just having different, like you were able to sense the multiple points of views all at once.
With
Like,
no confusion and no like, it was like, I guess your eyes do this. Like your left eye and your right eye are seeing two different pictures, but yet your mind is picking up one picture. And so it gives you like a depth. So now imagine instead of two eyes, you have 36 eyes.
oh shit, okay.
And you're experiencing from that point of view. And so you're seeing more of a 360 view, but not even just 360, but like more dimensional than 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to go like this.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I would just see things kind of like shift from left to right just slightly. And I'm like, why does it always do that?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's
oh
so,
yeah, one eye's over here, one eye's over here.
it is so fun to
Did
do
you
that.
do it?
Yeah, all the time, bro. And like with the moon too, because like it looked like the moon was jumping in the sky when I did that.
Oh.
And I don't know if you wore glasses, but it's like if you kind of take your glass, I wish I had mine here. Like if you just like hold it in front of you, it's like people become like small versions.
Yeah.
I used to do that with teachers. Like now she's mini me.
Like pretending you're just cleaning your glasses, but really you're just like, hello, little person.
Yeah, I was just like that.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
I started following this one. He's like a light. I think he calls just himself like a light designer. So he builds
Mm-hmm.
like these light sculptures. And apparently he has like a few lectures on like how lights work and like how our eyes perceive lights. And he was
Mm.
explaining how like if we're looking at a color, like this is blue,
Mm-hmm.
it looks blue because every single light besides blue is actually being reflected. And it's like I never knew that. And like and then he was saying how like even like our eyes, like all of the images are actually inverted and upside down, but then our brains
Oh.
correct it to the right. I was like, dude, like the
You
human.
know, I'm making a connection here, and like
Uh
I'm
huh.
not. It hasn't like completely like clarified, but like imagine like my shirt is black, right? Which means that it's absorbing every other color, right? So you're only getting black reflected back. But that means, for example, let's say we meet someone, and let's say we think they're a terrible person, right? They may be like the spectrum of energy that they're reflecting back is because they're absorbing all the other energy. Or maybe there's some sort of reflection of us, but it's like the opposite reflection.
Bro, okay.
I gotta think about that more, make sense of it. But I don't
No,
know, that just kind of flashed in my mind when you said that.
I'm absolutely feeling you. Okay, I'm gonna sit with that, bro. I think you're onto something. Whoa,
Yeah.
if everything's energy, everything would work the same.
Yeah, exactly. It would only make sense. What am I projecting that I'm reflecting? You know? What energy am I projecting that that is being absorbed but not bounced off of
Yeah,
and that would make sense why when you look at something it would change based on the way you are, the way you perceive it,
yeah.
because it'll only bounce back what you're giving to it, right?
Mm-hmm. It's same exact with people. That's why I really love the whole premise of like everything's just within us, especially other
Mm-hmm.
people. Um, yeah, just that whole idea. It's like, but like even you right now, like it's you are the version of you that I created and that I see
Right.
and that I know. Yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah, it's funny because we have like our understanding of other people based on like what we know. We create
Yeah,
that understanding. And then when somebody kind of like completely goes against that, it almost like blows us away. Like I never saw that coming. But it's
yeah,
because you never understood the person as much as you thought you did,
yeah.
you know?
One of my favorite quotes, I don't know if he made this up or not, Jim, he was telling me, no, I think he probably heard it from something else, somewhere else. He was like, the moment you think you know your partner, the relationship is over. I wrote that down instantly in my notepad, bro.
I mean, it only makes sense. Like, our job here as humans on Earth is to know ourselves.
Yeah.
And we are constantly changing and growing. How can we fully know ourselves, let alone someone else? Like, there's always more. There's always more.
I know this sounds super simple, but like, dude, I've been appreciating communication like on a whole different level. Like, just
Mm,
knowing that like I can get, I can feel something from people or like have a knowing. But it's like to have someone just like fully and honestly express themselves. It's like, bro, thank you. Like, and you just took the guesswork out of everything, and now we can be
ugh,
the same. You know,
yeah,
that's, bro, it's so simple. Like, why is that shit so hard to do sometimes?
yeah. I mean, that's another like it's another way of like controlling the outcome, right? Is like not speaking your mind is wanting to control outcomes. But like when you let go of trying to control the outcome,
Yeah,
and then you feel easier to just say what's on your mind, you
yeah,
know? And even hear people, like, even if their opinion is different than yours, it's okay. Even if you're working on a project with somebody and their idea might be so different that the project may just come to an end,
mm,
right? But you don't want that to happen. But like, so what if it does? Big deal. There'll always be another project. There'll always be other unions. There'll always be, like, and not trying to control
yeah.
it. And like, it might be for the it all 99 100% of the time, it's always for the greater
Every
good.
single time. And even that idea, it's like being worried that something's gonna end. If you speak
Yeah.
your it would have happened eventually in some form. Like that reminds me, I watched Jerry Maguire, uh,
Mhm.
the movie with Tom Cruise. And I always saw like clips of it as a kid. I never watched the full thing. It's a beautiful movie, by the way. The whole premise, like he's literally following his guidance and intuition. Yeah, it was like such a deeper message than I
I
expected.
haven't watched that since I was like 5 or something. I
I,
don't even know how old,
dude,
but
I highly recommend it. Like he was basically just trying to live in his truth.
mm.
Um, and there was one quote with Renee Zellweger's character. They ended up like as they're in the relationship together, they were both kind of holding back. Like you could tell something was unsaid, and she basically
Mm.
said, "If we don't have this conversation now, we'll waste the next 10 years trying to be polite to each other." That hit me so hard, bro. Like,
That'd be
dude,
it.
I've done that. Like, just say it.
Oh, yeah, no biggie.
Yeah.
Nothing's that big of a deal.
No.
Even the biggest, most important thing is not that big a deal.
No.
It's
And if
not.
it, yeah, dude, whenever I think something is like hella important, I'm like, okay, like clearly I'm taking something way too seriously than I need to. Like something's wrong.
Yeah. Even rushing, like trying to get somewhere, like at a certain time. It's like,
It's
wait,
for
it's
what?
not that big a deal. Almost, I realize now every single time that I notice that I'm rushing, when I'm like, you know what, I might be 10 minutes late, but it's just gonna have to be. And then
Yeah.
I end up the person that I'm meeting is like, hey, I'm gonna need another 10 minutes or something like that. Almost every single time.
Yeah.
I can't
There's
even think of like a single event in the last like 2 years where I've decided not to rush, that it's actually been like, oh no, like none of it. Like it's always just worked out.
Yeah. Dude, I think that's why it's like I play that dangerous game even going to the airport like super last minute because I just like cause I know I'm gonna be there. Like I
Yeah.
know it. So it's like I never worry.
Oh my god, like our time in Florence when we were trying to get back to our cruise. That was pushing it. But it was such an adventure. And we made it.
Dude, I literally like logically I don't know how we made it on time. We were 2 hours away. That literally makes no sense in my head.
Oh my god.
Like how far we were.
And we just went with our trust in our guidance because we just really wanted to have dinner. We really wanted to, and we're like,
Yeah.
if we turn back now, we'll be on time. We're like,
Yeah.
but we have to eat. We
Yes.
have to spend an hour. We have to go to a restaurant. We have to. And
Yeah.
not only do we sat at like
We do.
3, 4 different restaurants before it felt right.
I forgot about
And we're just
that.
like, we got the menu. We're like, this isn't it.
Yes. And we sat there, we're like, nah, this is it. This does not feel right. I forgot about that. Dude, that's why I love traveling with certain people. Cause, bro, like, you don't need an agenda. You don't need to plan. Like, dude,
No,
you have to feel out your feeling moment by moment. Like, you can't pre-plan
exactly.
it.
You can't. And I like it's still, yeah, like again, it just we did it based on feeling, and
Yeah.
somehow we just like created an extra hour in our day and made it back on time.
You
Like
know,
I
that's something that's something I'm keeping in mind because I was just listening to Bashar and he was saying how like I think it was on the topic of aging, but he was like basically, you can when you're hella present, like when you're in the flow with something, that you're working
Mhm.
on something, it's just like, dude, hours could go by and it's like, who gives a fuck? But he was like, bro, like he was explaining that moment when you're in flow is actually timeless. So it's like sometimes it's like I think he said something about like you could even decide like how much time you want it to actually pass. Since
Mm.
there's no form to it, it's just like you're just in the now moment. But I think like he was
You
kind of
know,
that like that's how you can stay younger technically.
right.
But-
That really explains the feeling that I had like the first time I've ever experienced this, like for like an extended period of time, was on my first Abraham cruise.
Mhm.
I just felt like I like really just felt so in alignment that everything felt timeless. Like it felt
Yeah.
like I was there forever, but it also felt like I just got there the whole time,
Yeah.
and like there was no rush for anything ever. Um, and so like it just really felt like time. It really just that time is an illusion thing. Really, I could really feel it and at that time. But like I get bits and pieces, like even now, like have we really been on here for 45 minutes? It doesn't feel like it.
No, not at all.
If it wasn't for the little clock in the corner, I would have thought maybe like 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
That's actually what happens a lot when people are in trance. When I hypnotize them, they're under for 2 hours. And I always say, how long did it feel like? And they say, oh, about 20 minutes every time.
Dude, that was a. I experienced that heavy the first time I tried DMT.
Mm,
And I'm so glad the person who facilitated it for me, like, he knew what he was doing. So I broke through the very first
mm,
time, which is fucking scary. Like, I relaxed into it eventually. I'm never gonna forget that. But, bro, like, I remember just, like, it was so freaking intense going through that peak and then coming down. Dude, that felt like, dead ass, it felt like an hour to me. And then I asked him, I was
wow.
just like, how long has it been? Because I kept thanking him. Oh, okay. I kept thanking him. I was like, thank you so much for being patient, like with me. And it's just like I felt like I dead ass thought it was a whole hour. He was like, dude, it hasn't even been like 5 minutes. And I was like, are you serious?
That's so funny.
It was so
Wow.
quick in this 3D reality. But for me, it was like, bro, I went on a whole adventure.
Wow, I've never done that. I would love to hear more about your stories, about
Ooh, okay.
your adventures. Like I have a couple, like with mushrooms and stuff, but like I would definitely love to hear like your like the full version of your DMT story and like any other interesting, cool psychedelic experiences that you have.
Let's do that next time for next
Okay,
episode.
let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we could probably wrap up now. It's like a minute before noon, so
Yeah. Dude.
probably it was perfect.
Yes, absolutely. Dude, my heart is so full. Like,
Same. Mm.
I was meant, yeah, I was meant to do this. Just as a side note, too, like, even yesterday, like, my brain, like, the logical part of me was like, oh, there's so much to do. Like, maybe we should reschedule. But my guidance, it was like a clear yes. I was like, no, you're doing this podcast with Ari. I was like, I love letting go of like rational mind and just like, just follow
Yeah.
what feels right. And
Once
this,
again, we've created another hour. Look at us.
yeah.
Oh
Oh,
my gosh.
I'm excited.
Okay, awesome. Love you guys. See you next week.
Bye, guys.